Formal hot seat.
Oh,
What's
sorry.
up, everybody? Welcome to your Friday night addiction hot seat special edition, just for our friends and family out there. And we lost our guest. Oh, there she is. All right, she's back. All right, guys. So tonight we have, like I said, a special impromptu hot seat. We are going to be talking to Alicia from Best Fights Forever and Crystal from K9 Defense. We have actually had Crystal and her partner. Is that right? Boss partner, George. Yeah, he's the owner of the company, right?
Correct.
Okay. George is scheduled to be on with us, or we had them scheduled to be on in the past, and some scheduling conflicts stopped that from happening. So we're going to be doing a little impromptu hot seat and talk to Crystal about K9 Defense, and we'll talk to George when he's able to make it on. All right. So we got a couple people in the chat. I know we probably won't have the huge turnout that we did last night for Phil. I appreciate you all being there for that. It was a great show. We got Keith Bedtag in there keeping score. Stephanie Jimenez, Suburban Jim's in there. Little Art, I see you. View to Grill, what's up? Leprechaun, Bad Beast Barbecue. Desiree, Blackstone, Betty's in the house. What's going on? Who else? Tom's Food Factory, Cuff and Stuff. Smoky Joe's Pit Barbecue, what's up? Canadian Jim, how you doing? Terry, I see you. Jimmy Q, what's up, everybody? Thank you all for being here. In Your Mouth Barbecue, what's going on? Grumpus on Fire. Howdy. All right. So I'm going to actually start this off with Alicia, and I want you to talk about first your hair and how I could grow that. I want to do that. And then how you came to know Crystal and George and why we're talking about K9 Defense tonight.
Okay, cool. So my hair involves a lot of, getting in the salon and getting extensions. Crystal and George, I know because I got my awesome dog, my little baby German Shepherd. I know you guys have seen the videos, right, of the training if you've been over to my channel. But Crystal's in a couple of them and George is in a couple. And we lost Crystal again. But yeah, I know her because my dog came from her, and they train like police, military, protection dogs, pets, like anything along the lines. And my dog trains there. And Crystal and I have become really, really good friends in the process. So it's my dog's birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Max.
Max, I love it.
Happy birthday, Max.
All right, there's Crystal back. We got her back.
I was going to make him a cake, Crystal. Crystal made her dog a cake, but I didn't get around to it, so he has to wait till tomorrow for his birthday cake.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be meat. Hamburger.
That's cool. So what made you decide to get Max in research with these guys?
Well, what started it is I was getting like these creeper messages on my YouTube channel, and I think that I put some of them right in the Hot Seat Survivors chat when it was happening because they were like freaky. And I was like, I'm getting a dog. Like, I need a protection dog because this freak, I mean, he was sending me like, I'll see you soon. I'm actively looking for you. Like, it was pretty freaky. And I sent it to George. I'm like, this person's freaking me. And I didn't even know him. I just basically, I found him. I went on the internet. I was researching companies and I saw him and I was like, oh, I'm going to check these guys out. And I'm so glad that I did because they're so amazing. Just not only like amazing trainers, but I mean, just really, really good people too. So.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, Crystal, if we can keep you on, talk about K9 Defense a little bit for us and what it's all about and how it got started and all that, and how you got involved with it.
Well, as far as when K9 Defense got started, I would get better from George. I'm pretty sure he's done this for 20-something years. I think like all of us, we just kind of fall into it because it's a passion. You start working with dogs, falling in love with them, and next thing you know, you're doing it every day. Probably similar to you guys in cooking.
Right.
So I have known George on a personal level for like 15 years or more. More of like a Hangout friend, social world. I think it was 4 years ago. I had talked to the rescue dog who was part pit, and the rescue group said he's part pit. I need obedience training. I said okay. My buddy George trained dogs. We started working together. Once a month, once a week, and into now I work with them every day. So it's awesome. I left a 6-figure-a-year job to hang out with dogs all day every day, and it's a pretty niche business because it's almost specifically detection, which means looking for drugs or bombs or people, or patrol, which means going to bad guys, which is a lot of fun. But the way that we train the dogs, the police dogs or a leash dog, is the exact same way that we train police dogs, or pet dogs. So it's all the same.
We lost her again.
All right. Maybe give her a shot real quick, Crystal, and get her to put her earbuds in. Or Crystal, Alicia, get her earbuds in, maybe.
I'll call her.
All right, I'm going to take you out of the stream while you talk to her, okay? I'll bring you back in.
Okay.
All right. There's always technical difficulties. Sometimes it happens. Crystal, Alicia's going to call you real quick. We can't hear you, okay? You're in the green room. Alicia's going to call you real quick about getting some earbuds. So answer your phone when Alicia calls you. Let's see. Scotty in for the grill. What's up, buddy? How you doing? Bubba K, evening. Yeah, there's a real bad echo with Crystal, and we can hear it too. So we'll get some earbuds in maybe and make it a little easier. Grill Sergeant's in there. Josh, the cooking cop. Soul Food Cooking. How you doing? Dan's Outdoor Cooking. Thank you guys for all being here. We're trying to get this sorted out with the background noises and all that. We obviously, even though we're doing an impromptu hangout, we want to at least make it a good hangout. So if you guys have questions about canine defense, put them in there. Put it at at Johnny Mag's Barbecue or at Daddy Dutch. They're both no. Just put it at Johnny Mag's. Kent's not working tonight.
Man on duty tonight.
Yep, Kent is not working.
In a row, my contract prohibits it. As bad as I want to, I can't do it.
You said you can't work 2 nights in a row?
No, sir.
I think you just got a pin flip from Mags.
Do it right and catch it, though, Mags.
So basically,
catch it.
Once we get done chatting with Crystal and maybe George, if we can get him in there, he's supposed to be able to come on at 7:30, or thereabouts.
Hey,
what up?
Put Smoking Joe's comment on the screen.
I highly doubt that.
The only way I'm going to say that happened is, he must have been hitting the Manhattans at 10 o'clock. I don't know. The guy's got his own schedule. So maybe he did, but I kind of doubt it considering he said Bethany is not due back from Northern California until Monday. And I'd give Josh credit not to do it over the phone.
No, that's good. All right, Alicia, I can see her in the green room. She's talking to Crystal. We're gonna make sure it's all straightened out. Probably shouldn't have gone live until we started that, but it was taking a long time to get us to where we needed to be. So
we'll be good.
People just hanging out for no reason. After we get done with this interview and talk to Crystal and George, we'll start having people. I'll send out the link, and if you want to come in and hang out, drink with us a little bit, we'll do it. We'll do the dang thing, okay? So just stay patient. Is everybody looking good? All right, let's get Alicia back in.
Okay, I think that we figured it out.
Okay, let's get Crystal back in.
Yeah, it had done something weird.
Okay, are we good?
I think we're good.
Crystal, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfect. All right, good job, boys and girls.
Awesome.
All right.
Let's go over. I don't want to ask the same questions over again, but I don't think a lot of people heard you talking and what you're saying. So talk a little bit about Canine Defense and where you and George kind of hooked up with this and what brought you to doing it.
So I adopted a pet dog. He was part pit bull. I've known George for 15 years as a friend. I adopted a dog from a rescue group 4 years ago. The rescue group said he's part pit bull. They're dangerous. You need to get training with him. So because George and I had been friends, I called him. I started with a local dog school, but I also met with George regularly. And it wasn't long before I saw that the theories that they were teaching at this dog school and the theories that they were teaching, that George was teaching, were similar, but the way they implemented it were completely different. So the results, kind of, proof is in the pudding, and I saw that George implemented the theories, had way better results, and so it wasn't very long before I moved over and did the training with him full time.
Right on.
And my 6-figure-a-year analyst job kind of turned into a hanging out with dogs all day job. How am I going to feed myself today? But I love what I do, and that's really important to me at this point in my life.
All right, that's awesome. You know, they always say if you love what you do, you're not really working. So
Absolutely.
I'm with you on that. I wish I love what I do when I work. Ken likes to say I work. I work at home. So. All right. Well, that's awesome. Would you say that? Go ahead, Ken. If you're going to talk some shit.
You get paid at home. You do not work.
I get paid.
You get paid at home.
I get paid at home. Yeah. All right. Let's just bust CJ's balls tonight. Sounds like fun. All right.
I'm in.
What's your main client there?
Our biggest client are police departments, law enforcement agencies.
Right.
So that's the bread and butter. We do have clients looking for personal protection dogs, like Alicia and her family. We have clients and they just want training with their pet dogs. We do everything, one-on-one training. We do board and train. People drop their dogs off with us for a month and pick back up, and we do sessions to integrate the dog back into the home. But for the most part, it really is departments.
Right on. Do you guys? Go ahead.
Dual purpose canine, which means, so a single purpose canine is either a dog that will go and bite somebody, bite a bad guy, or a dog go and find a odor, not explosives. Dual means it's trained to do both of those. So most of our dogs are dual purpose dogs. They're trained to either find bombs or drugs and to go and fight bad guys.
Oh, right on. Do you guys breed the dogs there too?
You know, breeding is not really something to say that we do. However, cross phenomenal dogs, and when we do, we definitely want to keep mind of that. I can't think of the word right now because it's, I'm working my way into the drinking. But when we find a dog that's incredible, we like to continue the line. And so, like Alicia's dog Max, that's a dog that both of the parents were phenomenal dogs, and we said we've got to put these two dogs together. I'll come up with something that's awesome. And out of that litter, what was it, 10, Alicia?
I think it was.
Every one of them is qualified to be a police dog. So, including Alicia's dog.
Including my Max.
They all have it in them. So that genetics is huge. You don't usually see that, but we have one litter that was actually born on 420. One of my first dope dogs delivered her puppies on 420, and it was on the news a couple days ago. So, maybe once a year we'll breed, but it's not something we definitely don't consider ourselves breeders.
Right on. Do you guys ever train up like comfort dogs or for service animals, like for blind people or anything like that?
Sure. Yeah, we'll do things like that. My pet dog, the one that snuck in earlier, has epilepsy, and so I read way too much about the case studies on that in humans and in dogs. And there's a scientist in Ireland who just found a way to detect seizures that they could predict them 24 hours ahead of time, which is something that science said couldn't happen. Now that's happening, and so there's a little voice in my head that's saying, hey, maybe now it's time to actually train dogs on that specific odor, which is it's like a cousin to DNA, the RNAs, the transfer RNAs that spike 24 hours before a seizure. And so those are things that, we're going to start seeing service dogs that alert before a seizure happens. And so people with epilepsy can, know the day ahead of time that I probably shouldn't go out and shouldn't shower or drive today. And they're just phenomenal, the work that they can do. I don't know if I answered your question, but.
No, you did. That's great, man. I want to, before we go to the next questions, I want to shout out some more people out that joined us. We got 33 in the chat. Lois is in there. How you doing? Good to see you. She's ready to do some shots. She's drinking her Corbel and ready to go. Phil, Daddy Cooks is in the house. Mike Montoya, how you doing, buddy? Let's see here. Rick, Tom Horseman is in there. What else I missed? All right. Blue Smoke, Parker, what's up? Bubba K, Jeff LaFoe, Brian. Howdy, everybody. Thank you guys for being here on this Friday night. Like I was saying earlier, the first half of this show is going to be talking about K9 defense and going through all that interview. Hey, Big Cat 305. And then we'll probably move on to more of the drinking happy hour style going on after that. What I did forget before we started this thing is since Kent is not working tonight, he's not allowed to work 2 nights in a row. That was just told to me. Johnny Maggs, I need you to set a super shot price, and then I want Kent to discuss why we have super shots in the first place. All right, so Johnny Maggs, make it happen.
Well, figuring Kent's on the weekend, and I still got another day's work going, so Kent put it all on me tonight.
$10.99.
$2.99.
$10.99.
$2.99. Drink up.
No. We're cheap. We're not easy.
He's trying to kill everybody.
Easy, not cheap.
We're easy now. Let's make it $12.99. How about that?
What's the date?
Just because I love you, CJ.
It's Max's birthday.
It is Max's birthday. I was trying to tie the price into the date. I was trying to be clever, but it's 4/24, so that doesn't work.
So 24/20.
42/24. That's all.
Let's see here. Lois says she wants that damn bling hat. Lois, I gotta be honest with you, sweetie. That's the last thing on my mind right now. But we will work it out, I promise. Sweet Lou's in the house. What's going on, guys? Stephen and Jacqueline. View to a Grill. What's up, John? All right. So, Kent, while we're taking this, I see Mike put in there, 29.29. All right. I'm okay with that, Mike. All right. Kent, let's talk about super shots and why we do these at this time. Whose fault it is.
Well, Crystal, first of all, I need to address you. Your friend next to you is the one who got us started on the super shots thing. So
She can be a little dangerous.
Yeah, affectionately, we refer to her now as the devil woman. Okay, just so you know.
The devil was an angel. So.
But
That's a good point, Crystal. Very valid point.
Crystal, you've already earned the nickname tonight of Fine China, just so you know. Crystal and Fine China.
Okay.
The devil woman came on the hot seat.
You got a better one than me, Crystal.
I did.
You're
right.
fine. I got double.
She was a little apprehensive. So she reached out to CJ and said, I'm a little nervous about this. Can we have a shot before the show? So we did. Well, this came out during the show, and Mr. Hobo Nickel decided to throw a super chat at the time into the chat, a money donation. And he said, Drink up, bitches. So after that, it evolved into super shots. So now we set a price, and sometimes they get doubled, and some idiot from Iowa has to break out a Texas size shot glass and fill it to the top.
Ugh.
Which
Well,
makes for a very
I'm not from Iowa.
morning. What's that?
I'm glad I'm not from Iowa.
He is.
Yes.
Ah.
So yeah, and thanks Jim at Suburban Barbecue for killing my liver and kidneys.
Mike said he'll get you later when super shots are open, buddy. They're open 24/7, man. Get in there.
So what's
Daddy
in a
Good.
super shot?
You want to do a super shot?
No, I just want to know what's in one.
Know what? So
No, it's whatever you're drinking.
Oh,
Just take a big old gulp of whatever, or take a shot.
Yeah, somebody pays money to the channel for us to all do a shot. And CJ, being awesome, has done cool things with super shots because he just now gave back to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, right, with one of his shows.
Yeah,
And
we raised like $1,000, so
On
we donated that.
that's awesome.
That was a lot of drinking that night. That was a lot of drinking.
Yes. And then in last night's show, we did in honor of Phil and Florence, a tribute show to him. Unfortunately, we lost Phil on Tuesday. His funeral was today, so last night's show was in honor of Phil, and we did a few there too. So
that was going to Phil's family, right?
yes, it is. It is all going to
Yeah, it's all
Janet
going to his mom.
and
Or his wife, sorry.
yeah, his wife, Janet. And the cool thing about last night, and this is where I'll leave it, is Janet was in the chat. Ed was in the chat, which is Phil's younger brother. And all three of his kids were in the chat last night, which was really cool. We got Janet's blessing to do the show last night in honor of Phil. And it was tough on me. It was tough on CJ. And it was tough on a lot of people who came on that knew Phil. You know, it was an honor to do the show in his honor. It was very rewarding to the heart.
Yeah, we do good things with the show, and then other things we do are bad. And
We do good things once in a while. The rest of the time, we just suck it up.
Yeah, the other times we just want to drink heavily and get paid for it. So
Sometimes
Go to work Friday with a hangover.
So Lois Irwin's put a toast in there. So let's do a toast there. I'm gonna read it. I'll put it on the thing. Here's to the men that we lust, which I can't believe I'm reading that. Here's to the men that lust us. But the men that lust us aren't the men we lust. So to hell with the men. Here's to us. All right, so I'm gonna add my own toast to that. Here's to you. Here's to me. May we never disagree, but if we do, fuck you. Here's to me.
Amen.
All right, Lois, you got me to read your chick toast.
Yeah, and Lois still wants you to talk to Mrs. CJ about that blinged up hat. By the way,
I know. It's
CJ, I know you have a bedazzling kit.
I know I have a bedazzling kit too. I just don't have time. All right, so
It's right next to the
We do not have a bedazzling
I don't want to say it's like right in this area right here, but let's not talk about it. All right, there you go. She's getting the Tito's out. There you go. Does Mrs. CJ have a channel? No, she does not, and we're gonna keep it that way. Eastwood Farms, what's up, Chris? Brian, I see you. What's going on, buddy? What I would like any of the moderators to do, the super shot price is $17.99. You like how I did that? All right, so because we're not doing $2.99. Freaking Mags, you're about to get fired.
Welcome to my
grab the
world,
pen.
Johnny. Well, hey, Johnny, we'll be on unemployment together, brother.
I'm with you, baby. I'll drink.
All right. So, speaking of channels, though, any of the moderators, Steven, I'm looking at you. If Crystal, can you give me the website for your company and the YouTube channel?
Well, I can give you the website. It's the letter K, the number 9 defense, k9defense.com.
Okay.
Alicia is the queen of our YouTube.
Their YouTube channel, yeah, it's K9 Defense AZ at youtube.com.
Okay, so Steven, when you look that up, K9 Defense AZ, like Arizona,
Yeah.
at YouTube or YouTube, whatever. So
Because weirdly, somebody had already used K9 Defense, but they're not like, they don't put up videos, but they only upload opera videos. But K9 Defense is their YouTube name for some reason.
Right.
You just say they upload opera videos?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they're like in defense of canines being abused or something. Anyway, yeah. So theirs is K9 Defense AZ. That's the end of the story. Love, Alicia.
All right, cool. All right, so if you guys can find it, throw it in the chat. Make sure you guys subscribe. I've watched a couple videos. It's pretty dang cool. Hey, Tom's Food Factory just figured out his own number in there and threw it in there. So our first super shot of the night, Tom's Food Factory. Drink up, boys and girls. Cheers.
I'm gonna have to make drinks for him.
Well, you know, it's not the $17.99. I think he's hoping for a double, but
Well, you take the Texas shot for us.
Uppity up, boy.
All
I
right.
told you I'm drinking out of Daddy's sippy cup tonight.
That is a big ass sippy cup, man.
Yeah, well, you can't see it, but it's etched in there. It says Daddy's sippy cup. My oldest daughter.
Xavier was texting you for
All
me.
right, so it was a two-fer. So get that second one in there, guys.
Oh no, it don't count unless he says it
I
right
asked
away.
Xavier to text George. He put "you coming," George. I mean, on my phone.
Hey,
Group
Justin, I'll take care of that.
With Crystal and George. It's a group text with Crystal and George.
I just
Anyway.
saw it.
Anyway,
This is my dangerous pit bull here.
Indy,
What a cutie.
her non-dangerous and possible to get to attack dog.
Is he gonna lick you to death if you attack? All right.
And the one you have to worry about if you go to her house. She has like 4 or 5 dogs right now. She always has several dogs, and there are always at least 2 like police canines on her premises.
Nice.
But then
They
Indy's
rotate
like her sweet dog.
All right. Lois wants to know how do you do the shot thing. See the bottom of the chat, that little dollar sign next to the happy face. Click on that and follow the leader.
Cool.
Oh, the puppy. Look at that.
George is putting away the last dog.
All right. Look at that. Love her right there. Oh, Johnny, you should go get Max or Mac. Sorry,
Hey, numbnuts.
numbnuts. Perfect.
Oh, look at Indy.
So good dog.
He's the best cuddler for sure.
He's my kids have played with Indy, and I mean, like, when they play with him, they're like laying on him and they're like this in his face, and he's just like so gentle with them. It's ridiculous.
They tell him to do 100 different things, and he does. He'll work for food.
Nice.
So
There we go. Oh,
Oh,
what?
there he is. There he
Aw.
65-pound lapdog. Wait, I missed that one.
is. I when I was growing up, I had a pit bull that was raised by cats. So it would jump in your lap and then like do that roundabout thing and then flop down. It was, I think and it was, the pit bull, they get kind of a bad rap, but as long as you raise them right, they're the best dogs to ever have.
They absolutely get a bad rap.
Yep. Okay. Harmon, he asked Dutch something, so you answer that. If you guys have any question about canine defense, throw it in there. Phil from Daddy Cook said he's had plenty of experience with canine dogs being in the service in parts unknown. So, Phil, if you want to come in and join in this chat, and you got something to add to it, I'll send you the link until George gets in there. So, what would you would you say your most favorite or most rewarding part of doing what you do, Crystal?
That's really personal, honestly.
Okay.
I was a victim of a crime a long time ago, and it was one of those kind of crimes that sticks with you for the rest of your life. And the fact that I can train a dog to go and apprehend a bad guy and get them off the streets is something for me. One night on one of my very first canine academies, I don't know where you guys are located. We're in Maricopa County in Arizona. We were training with that department. We were in their impound lot. It was a night session, and we were sending the dogs to go and find that guy in the middle of all these cars. And something hit me that night that kind of connected my past and my present with the fact that I might not have been able to fight back that night on my own.
Right.
But I can help train dogs that can go and get some of those guys off the street so that there aren't other people like me out there. Mm-hmm. And that sold me on it that night. That was it.
Right on. Well, thank you for sharing that. I didn't mean for you to get personal on it, but
yeah, no, I mean, I'm honest. So if you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's great. Steven put the link for k9defense.com.
Thank you.
I believe that's it. You guys can check it out. But can you also throw the YouTube channel in there? K9 Defense AZ. Look it up. If not, I'll grab it in a sec. Mags, do you guys either have a question for Crystal?
I got one from Smoking Joe.
Okay.
Now, trying to figure out how he was going with this. Obviously, you guys train the dogs for, drugs and bombs, things of that nature. But in certain situations of, obviously a drug house, for instance, are they trained? Is there a way to smell like precious metals like gold or silver, things like of that nature?
If you trained a dog on that, absolutely. I don't know of any dogs that are trained on either of those two. I do know a number of dogs that are trained on currency, so dollar bills. Interesting thing is we won't train a dog on explosives and narcotics because the dog doesn't have a way of prioritizing. So let's just say we have a dog in the airport and there's a guy walking by with a pound of weed in his backpack and there's somebody else walking by with a pipe bomb in their shoe. The dog can't discriminate which one is more important. He's going towards the strongest odor. And the strongest odor would be a pound of weed. Right. So we never train the dog on both narcotics and explosives. But as far as like training on currency, or you could train a dog to sniff out your keys if you wanted to. That's one of the things we've actually taught pet dogs. Like, what do you want your dog to find? What are you always losing? Well, I lose my keys all the time. Teach your dog to find your keys, But you could teach a dog to smell anything. Right. They say that a dog can smell a drop of blood in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Wow. So it's phenomenal what they can do. You can teach them they can smell cancer. So that's on the, microscopic level of the little tiny particles.
That's amazing.
They're really phenomenal.
Yeah. We have a little French pug here, and he's constantly sniffing all over the place. So I'm sure he'd be good to put in the drug one. All he wants is meat.
When you teach him how to fight, like with this guy, my pet dog right here, I came up with a game. I didn't come up with it on my own, but I taught him a game I call Find It. And so I'll put him in a down position and make him stay where he can't see where I'm going. And I'll go into another room and I'll hide treats. And then I'll go back to him and say, find it. And he'll go and sniff and find treats. And for him, that's a fun game. It's interesting that for them, like that burns a lot of energy. More than, like playing fetch or something, just because of the mental stimulation of it. Right. But it's a fun way to like play with your dog.
All right, cool. Got a couple more people in the chat, so I want to say hi to them. Skip is in there. Laura's in there. Lois put a $10 shot in there since, I've been promising her a hat forever. We'll give her a discount. So cheers.
Yeah, well, you need to scroll down a little bit and look at Lois's comment.
Said, do the damn shot.
Okay, CJ, contributed. Do the damn shot. It will sell. Have a shot. Send me the hat. She wants the hat. Bedazzle the damn hat.
Get the damn hat.
God, what's the matter with you? You don't want to sell merch to women? You got to expand your horizons a little bit there, brother.
So, CJ, everybody, I have to tell you guys, when I first started, getting to know Canine Defense, so I think it was like last February or so. So it's been like over a year. And I told George I'd help him with his YouTube channel or whatever. And so I go on this first training exercise with them, right? I'm only telling you this because it was amazing. And like, I want you to realize how freaking sick these dogs are. I've never seen something like them. So the drill is like this. It's on police property, but what it looks like is an abandoned warehouse that's like 5 stories tall. So we go in. I barely talked to Crystal. I barely met her at this point. I barely talked to George. I got my little camera. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. So she has like a briefcase full of like drugs, like meth, coke.
That's the fun part.
Weed. And it's like this. Yeah, it's like this briefcase that she like busts open. And I've never been exposed to anything like this. So she opens it up and it's like got the little mason jars. And she's like to George, where do you want me to hide these? And he's like, just go and whatever, strategy he gave her, I guess. So She goes throughout and hides. So then there are police officers that they're training to handle their dogs. So the police officers come in one at a time and they have what is inside the warehouse is like fake rooms that look like what you would expect a drug house to look like torn up couches, like freaking messed up mattresses, or like, and the next one might be like a normal room. The next room it's like all different scenarios for the dog so that it learns to check in all different scenarios, right, Crystal?
Right.
Absolutely. So they're trying to make the dog not just think to itself, oh, I found drugs in a couch one day, so it's probably in the couch. So they don't want it to go like straight to the couch. So they teach it, in this room it was in the couch and in the bed. In this room it was in like the oven. In this room it was, so the dog and they find it, like people think they're going to hide their freaking drugs. I'm telling you right now, if you're hiding drugs and one of their dogs comes to find it, you have about a minute to get your freaking butt over the fence and out because they're going to find it. Like they're finding it and they're finding it fast. And like little amounts. It's like, we're not talking about like a stash of heroin that the dog is looking for. They have this little cartridge that they're hiding like in a freaking fake elevator shaft with a downwind coming this way and an open window blowing the smell this way. And they bring in the dog's like, drugs are here. Like, anyway, it's crazy. It's impressive. I've had some wine. The end.
Thank you, Alicia. It's a lot of fun. And I've got to throw in there too, I'm also a drug dog handler for a private company called Desert Drug Dog.
Okay.
So we go to drug treatment centers, rehab centers, sober living. I've got a 16-year-old kid at home I think might be hanging out with the wrong people. Can you come and make sure I don't have drugs in my house? Like, it's a company that's not affiliated with, and with my personal drug dog that I run for that company, the police departments don't want their dogs to hit on residual odor, because let's say, CJ, a cop pulls you over and you just smoked a joint in your car, but you don't have any of it left. The cop has nothing on you because you don't have anything left in your vehicle, right? So they don't want their dogs to hit on that residual odor. So it's a lot different for law enforcement than it is for this company, this separate company that I work for. But for them, we want to know, like, is there residual odor? Is there something that was here? Because in those situations, they can go to that client and do a urinalysis. Yeah, a urinalysis, and test the client and see if they've had access to drugs while they've been in the facility. So for our dogs, for that company, we train them on trace odors. So that's the cool thing for my personal dog and I. I'll go out and hide, like Alicia was saying, like little tiny, or even take odor and wipe it places and then wait 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then go and see if she can pick up. And you know, that's one of the things that's a little bit different from the two, because obviously for law enforcement, if they catch you on residual odor, then you know it's got an issue. But for someone who's in sober living, or if you have a family member at home that you're concerned about, you want to know that, oh, there was drugs here, and then, you know, at this point it's gone, but at that point you can do something about it, you know.
Right on. All right. I see we have a guest of honor in the green room. I'm going to go ahead and bring George in. Welcome.
Georgie!
Hello.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Sorry it's taking so long. I know we had it scheduled once before and a little scheduling conflict, so I apologize for that. But I appreciate you coming on tonight. Let me introduce you to everybody on the screen. I'm CJ. This is my channel. This is my show. It's called The Hot Seat. We got Daddy Barbecue, Kent, and then Johnny Mags up on top. And then obviously, you know, Crystal and Alicia.
I do.
Hey, George.
Hi.
Hi.
So Crystal has filled us in pretty well with your company and what's going on. And, you know, I feel like we've got a lot of good information. We've put your link in the chat to your to the company website. We're still searching for that YouTube link in there.
You want me to send it to you?
Yeah, please.
I think Steven might have put that in there, CJ.
Did he put the YouTube in there? I saw the link too.
I think so. I'm gonna go back and look.
Tell me, I'll send it to you.
Okay, no worries.
George,
See,
do you
Yeah,
have a drink?
I do.
Okay.
you got what you drink.
Salud.
Salud.
So cheers, buddy.
I don't know if George knows the backstory.
All right, well, feel free to tell it again, Dutch.
No, I already did it once. I can't work too nice.
So one of the things they asked,
Hey, George,
wait.
you have good employees. You know, Crystal's very nice to you and probably respects you. These two jokers up top, they don't respect me. They don't.
I will
I'm in the same boat.
defer this question to Alicia so she can tell George
What?
on how Super Shots started. Alicia, the floor is yours.
Okay, look. I very innocently
What happened was,
what had happened is I was going to go live on CJ's channel, and I was like, you know what would be a good idea is if we all have a shot before the show starts, because then like nerves, like nobody's going to be nervous, and like it makes the conversation flow. So CJ's like, yeah, that's cool. We can all do a shot together, you know, calm the nerves, the whole thing. So then, who was it, Kent, that then put in the hobo, put in this thing that was like, do another shot, and did a like a super payment. You guys, I've been drinking a super shot payment, whatever thing. And next thing you know, they're like hashtag shut up, Kent. They're like hashtag super shot, and every time somebody was paying, we were doing shots, which I told you right about the 2-day hangover. But I was explaining to Crystal, although sometimes it just goes to alcohol, right? Because it goes to CJ, but CJ does good things with the super shots also. So
yeah.
it's given to like the Make-A-Wish Foundation and to Phil's family, which is a YouTuber who passed away. But good comes from them, as well as alcohol purchases. So super shots.
as well as alcohol poisoning.
This is definitely my kind of show. I'm happy to be here.
So
All
George, one of the questions they asked me was, how did Canine Defense get started? And I couldn't answer that because I'm not as old as you.
Oh, dang. Maybe you are in my boat a little bit, George.
Fair enough.
Okay, that's not true, but
it started out for me as a hobby. I was, really into dogs, and I got competitive, and as I had more success on the competition field, I started to have more kind of competitive dog trainers asking me for advice here and there. And then I just kind of turned into something I did just as a side gig. And then, it was it just got to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm going to turn dog training into my main function and put everything else on the side. And it just evolved from there. Now, when I say competitive in dog sports, it was always protection dog sports where I competed the most. So sports that mimic police dog type training. So that's kind of how it evolved into police work. I started helping more police officers along the way. And then it got to the point where that was the main function was helping law enforcement.
Right on. What's the best, I don't want to put the best part of your job, but what is the most rewarding thing for you in doing this?
That's, there's a lot of rewarding parts to this job for sure. Like any job, there's a lot of stress and downsides as well. But for me, one of the things that really keeps me motivated and pushing forward is, I've had several officers call me in the middle of the night and said the dog saved our lives tonight, and the dog did what we needed him to do. And when I get those calls, it really kind of pushes me forward and goes, this is what we put all this into, and we put so much work into these dogs. And sometimes there's, it's not always, when you figure your hours into everything, it's not always the most lucrative business, but there's a lot of rewards. You feel very satisfied when you get those calls that the dog did what he needed to do and really helped.
All right. Is there a particular dog that is better suited for one thing over another?
Typically herders are the breed of choice. Everyone knows the German Shepherd is very popular.
Right.
The Belgian Malinois, which is a form of a Belgian Shepherd, that is probably generally speaking. Now there's different there's very similar dogs, very similar traits in all these herders. Mm-hmm. But overall, a good Belgian Shepherd, a good Belgian Malinois is definitely the dog of choice for police work.
No, and sometimes Dutchies.
And what?
What's that?
Sometimes Dutchies.
Oh yeah, same thing, different coat.
Okay. Is there a breed that you guys will not work with because they just don't have the senses needed or anything like that?
Not necessarily. It's not out of anything like against any breeds. Just most dogs, even dogs within the breeds we use, don't have the correct genetics to excel at the task. So it's not necessarily the breed that rules them out. We've had good working dogs from multiple breeds, but generally speaking, like Crystal said, there's the Dutch Shepherd, the Belgian Shepherd, and the German Shepherd that are pretty much. It's hard to put anything else in. When you have a good one of any one of those breeds,
right?
It's hard to beat.
So CJ, can I hop in here for a second?
Yeah, of course.
Let me just throw something to make everyone understand out there. So George, as far as all of the dogs that you test of those three breeds, this is kind of what explains the elite of who gets to be a police dog. What percentage, George, would you say of the dogs that you test actually make it into the program or actually have the genetics, the nerve, the drive, the skills needed to be able to to pursue that? Like, what would you say?
Out of all the dogs we test,
Out of all the dogs of those 3 breeds,
you're still looking at the top 10%.
Okay.
So,
Well, go ahead, George.
no, I think, we have to be really selective in the testing process, because so much comes down to genetics. And if you make a good decision on a dog, it makes your job as the training goes forward a lot easier. And if you make a bad decision on the dog, or I've made all kinds of mistakes in this as it's going, and we continue to make mistakes. We hope to learn from them, but I've definitely made mistakes on dogs in the sense of, I don't feel this dog has everything it needs, but we're going to try to get it there through some really good training. And it's wasted a lot of time for me over the years. So the selection process is really critical to make sure that you have a dog that's going to be able to do everything you need it to do.
All right.
And I was going to say, this is something I didn't realize before I started working with George and Crystal, because to me, before I met them, a German Shepherd is a German Shepherd, and everything is up to training. But now that I've kind of been around them, and I've, been around dog people, I realize a German Shepherd is not a German Shepherd. There are 3 specific lines, right? There's the show line, the pet line, and the working line. Am I right? And then, but a working dog is not a show line dog, and a pet dog is not a working dog. They're not, even if they're all German Shepherds, they're all bred differently. A working dog is bred to work, and a pet dog is bred to be a pet. So when my dog comes out of his kennel, he's not like a pet dog that's hi, do you want to hug and do you want to love on me? He's like a freaking little racehorse that's I'm ready to go, what are we doing? He's amped up and ready, right? It is not the same thing. Anyway, I just thought I would point that out, because again, I just had no idea there was a difference between a pet German Shepherd and a police canine. In my mind, you could train your pet German Shepherd to be a police canine, and that is not the case, right, George, Crystal?
Well, and Alicia, I love that you say that, because one of the things that we hear a lot of times, and I have a lot of compassion for, people out there that ask these questions, because you don't know. But a lot of people say, why don't you just go to the shelters and rescue dogs and train them? And the reason is because they don't have the nerve or the drive or the skills to be. You can't train a Chihuahua to chase a bad guy. Nothing against Chihuahuas; they're great dogs. But certain dogs. So the thing with a domestic dog is that they've been around how long? George? 10,000 years.
Crystal,
we have been.
Crystal. You touched the nerve.
Cat must have a Chihuahua.
I love
Someone
Chihuahuas.
has a Chihuahua in our group. I won't tell who does.
I love Chihuahuas. That's not the point.
I'm guessing it's not a police Chihuahua, though. I think that's
I'm sorry.
It's not a police Chihuahua.
It's got its little bulletproof vest. It's what?
The thing is,
We don't need no secret badges.
the human influence on a canine over 10,000 years has been to create dogs that do specific jobs. So we create this dog to go and retrieve birds and not break their bones when they bring them back to us. And we create this dog to, sit on the lap of royalty and be allowed to be petted and whatever. And we create to go and attack a bad guy with all he's got. If I say, go and jump off the cliff, he's going to go, okay, and go and jump off the cliff. We have created
that one right there in the middle.
I'm
Get
sorry,
her.
I didn't mean to be rude.
Get her right there.
Hey, Ash, folks. What's
Hey,
up?
this is a Mike Vick trained attack dog.
That's amazing. I'll put a bite suit on for that puppy. Next week, Crystal's in a bite suit for Chihuahua.
For Chihuahua.
Yes. But in all seriousness, we have changed the genetics of dogs for 10,000 years to create what we want. And so because of that, we've created dogs that are really good at this or really good at that. But you can't just pick a dog that was trained to be really good at or bred to be really good at this thing and move them over here and say we want you to do that thing. Like it's not how it works.
Right. No, it makes sense completely. Some of us are just a little more sensitive than others. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm sensitive too. I will definitely put a tight suit on for your dog though. George, do you want to elaborate on that? Because you're more of the science theory than I am.
But before you start, there's a couple more people in the chat I want to acknowledge. Gamecock Phil is in there. He'll put Piff's dog Toby as a Jack Russell against any of them. Toby is the cutest dog too. Harmon Heat, what's up, Justin? And Ash Kicking Barbecue, how's it going, brother? Thanks for being here. I think that catches everybody. If I miss you, I'll catch you the next go around. Mags dropped out, but I think he got it fixed. He's back in. You good, Mags? Everything okay? All right, cool. All right, George. Let's see if we have any questions from the chat. Mags or Dutch, did you guys get anything from the chat?
Go first.
Okay, thank you, sir. Even though it's my night off, this question came up earlier from somebody that has as his son says, a chihuahua. Do you guys speak Spanish so you can teach a chihuahua how to obey commands or what?
We can.
This also might be a preloaded question. I'm not sure.
you being loaded?
So the company that I mentioned before, Desert Drug Dog, one of the dogs that works for that company is a Malinois, but she came from Mexico and she's very small. So we call her the Malinois because she might be part Malinois, part Chihuahua. So, she's a great dope sniffer.
But in response to that, though, I do have people that, as far as how we train the dogs, it's just responses to sounds. But I can't tell you over the years how many people have called me with German Shepherds that said, "We need this dog trained, and we can't train it because we don't speak German."
Yeah. Well, that would also go with German short hair pointers when it comes to hunting also.
Absolutely. Right.
So
because the commander
I joked about it a second ago, but I really want your two opinions on the whole Michael Vick deal that happened years ago with the fighting dogs. I mean, you two being around dogs so much, it is a serious thing. I joke about it, but I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but your guys' feelings on, them dog fighting clubs and, basically giving pits, and a lot of times Roddy's a bad name.
Yeah.
I think maybe George and I have a different perspective here.
But overall, there's definitely, like with the Michael Vick situation, there was a lot of abuse that went on, and unfortunately, that tends to be the case a lot of times when it gets into any of those kind of like black market dog training venues. Now, overall, it's pretty violent. It's pretty brutal. It's a lot of shady characters involved in it. But there's two sides to everything. When it comes to, do I think that I want to take a pit bull that was bred, with these drives innately? Now, again, the pit bulls that we see today aren't necessarily true to what the breed standard is supposed to be. But if I get a good terrier, good Staffordshire Terrier, that has these innate drives, I don't think the other side of it is, I don't think that just raising them to be like a little furry human does anything for their well-being either. I think that dogs, regardless of the breed, whether it's the German Shepherd, one of the terriers, even like I love Jack Russells. We talked a little bit about the Jack Russell earlier. Who had the Jack Russell? I forgot.
It was Phil's son, I believe.
No. Toby was a Jack.
Yeah.
Okay.
And our dog before my Espanol killer was a Jack Russell either.
And they're super dogs. And so when you talk about terrier breeds, they have very, very intense drives, and they can be very reckless. Their drive can pull them through all kinds of things. So in that sense, when you have dogs with these drives, I think it's a disservice sometimes, as much as a disservice as dogfighting is. It's also a disservice to take them and try to just incorporate them into a normal household without a healthy job to express what they come with internally.
Something that's ingrained in their DNA.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so it comes back again to like square peg, round hole. Like for us, we have dogs, and this might be an easy way to think about how it relates is people get their pet German Shepherd and they want to bring him to be a police dog, and the dog doesn't have it in him. It's not something the dog wants to do. So for us to train that dog to do these type of things is almost abuse, right? It's not something they want to do. In order to do it, it's gonna change the dog quite a bit. Whereas if you have the right genetics for this, there's no behavior that they'd rather engage in more. They are just like when you bring your well-bred, when you have the right genetics for protection work or patrol work, when you bring that dog to training for those tasks, it is the happiest moments of their lives. It's when they get the most in touch with their most primal drives, and it's a beautiful thing. It's almost cruel not to work those dogs in what they were meant to be. So I see the same thing. I can see the same thing on the other end of it. Now that doesn't mean if I have a really strong, well-bred pit bull, I want it to fight other dogs, but I want it to have an outlet for what it was meant to do. And that's where I think the gray area comes in. And because, dog fighting in general is just a really violent, horrible thing to watch. But, at the same time, I also don't like to watch really well-bred dogs end up being treated like humans, because it's a recipe for disaster as well.
Right.
George, I love how you're saying that, because that's one of the things when I was getting those, when I was looking for somebody in a protection dog and all that kind of thing, that's like what really drove me to George's company, to K9 Defense, because I went and I was watching some of their videos of their dogs training, and their dogs are having fun when they're training. Like when you're looking at Canella training, Canella is like, hi, I can't wait to go bite the freaking crap out of that person. Like she is like, damn, dude. It's not like he's not like whipping her into go attack that guy. Canella's like, I'm gonna freaking go get this dude. I'm gonna go get this dude. I'm gonna and you can tell by the way that they train that they are training what the dog already wants to do, right? Like I love it because their dogs are having fun. You can see the dogs having fun as they're training. Like they're playing. The dogs are playing. They're tearing the crap out of this person, but they're having a good time doing it.
Right.
Right? Like,
well,
go to the channel and watch some of the videos. I put a link, by the way, in your hot seat survival messaging.
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Yeah, so you guys can go on his channel and see.
Alicia, how many times have you seen George with his dog Canella?
A few.
Have you ever pet her?
No, you don't touch freaking Canella. You don't go near Canella. She don't go near Canella.
She does not want to be pet. She doesn't want to be cuddled. She doesn't want to be loved or fondled. She wants to go and eat someone.
I wouldn't reach my freaking hand out to that dog if you were like $500 in cash right now to go pet Canella. I'd be like, it's not happening.
I don't know. I'm a little bit more poor. I would do that for $500. So I have $500 right here, But
no,
I'm just saying, Canella doesn't have it in her to want to be pet or touched or that's exact right, George. Like she just that's not part of her makeup.
She's a bit
fight.
Of a bitch.
Well, she's a little bit antisocial, but that's not typical of the dogs we work with.
It
Typically,
is not, but just as an extreme example.
she is. But on that note, typically the dogs.
George.
What's that?
Right? She's your dog. Like, she's your protection dog. She shouldn't want anybody to just walk up and pet her. Like, she's your friggin'
but she
dog.
would bite me too. She's but to not give a bad impression or give a bad message to patrol and protection dogs, Canela is an anomaly. She's a dog that I took on as a I guess more of an experiment than anything else. But she is not the typical dog that does this. Typically, the dogs that we use are extremely social and really happy to get pet by people and love everyone. And not that we do that all the time, but they're very socially tolerant and capable of that interaction. Canela is not that one. She's and it's funny because the dogs usually like Canela that are a little bit antisocial and a little bit overly defensive don't make the best dogs. It's usually not. It's usually a front because they don't want to really have to bite somebody, so they put a big display on to try to scare you off. And dogs like this, like when people say my dog is a monster and we want you to test him for police work, he barks at everybody, and those are the dogs that always fail our selection process. So generally speaking, the dogs are not like her, and as far as temperament and personality.
Right. All right. Well,
which makes sense because Max barks at nobody. Like, we go around the block, we have people talk to us, Chihuahuas run up and try to attack us. Doesn't care. The struggle is real. There are 2 Chihuahuas when I walk around the block that come running at us every time, and Max just barely acknowledges them.
I've seen multiple videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're after us again.
So, I know. I'm like, the mailman was a distraction one day. They were chasing the mailman down the street, and he was running. I'm like, thank you. Usually they chase us.
All right. So, George, what you were saying about having, the DNA to do one thing or another, it kind of makes me want to ask Crystal. She has a pit bull in her lap right there. He's obviously, or she, I forgot what you said it was. He his DNA is to, be a trained killer. But do you just distract that vibe or that part of his DNA by giving him all these, like you said, he does like 80 different tricks and stuff like that? Is that
wait? Why do you think his DNA is to be a trained killer?
Well, that's what George just said.
Because he's a pit bull, I think.
Right,
he's
public perception.
Perception, right?
Wow. That was exactly that. That's why I'm where I am today, is because the rescue group said he's pit bull. You've got to get training, But there's so one of our colleagues who has been working with George forever. He's a phenomenal dog trainer. He will come over and try to convince Indy, this sleeping mutt right here. He's like, oh yeah, I'm tired, whatever. He will try to convince this dog to bite him with everything that he has. And this dog, you could not convince him to bite you. Like, it's just not in him.
But Indy is a good example of what most pit bulls are today, right? But that's not the dog I'm talking about when I talk about a well-bred,
He's a mush.
And Indy is a super dog. Super dog.
He's lab pit mutt with epilepsy on a lot of drugs. But you couldn't talk this guy into biting you. Any bad guy came in here, and if this was my prediction, all he would have to do be, "Hey, puppy," and Indy would go and kiss him, and they'd be best friends forever. And he would show him where all the goods were, and like that.
Well, and that's an interesting concept, because I think the reason a lot of now again, the media is horrible when they talk about dog bites. It can be a dog that doesn't even resemble an actual pit bull, and it gets labeled a pit bull attack. But when you think about it, if like the breed in general, as it progressed, if people were using it for dog fighting, bullfighting, whatever it was, the ones that were antisocial were not as easy to use. So the breed in general is super human tolerant, because if you look at the early years of dog fighting, that when they went to break up the fight, to pull the dog back to the line, whatever's happening, the dogs that would turn on the humans, they would extinguish those. So the pit bull breed in general is a super social, super human tolerant breed. It really takes bad human interaction and bad human influence to get that breed to bite people. But the media has just turned everything into an they pick a breed and they demonize it. And unfortunately, that's happened with the pit bull. I can't tell you, like, when you read bite reports of these dogs, how many of them turn out to be a variation of that breed and not that actual breed.
Right.
So,
well, you're talking about the different breeds. Some of the grilling 115 or the grilling 615. Yeah, it's 2 standard noodles bred to retrieve, and they're never happier than when they're hunting.
definitely. Yep, that's it.
That's just part of their DNA, right? I mean,
yeah. I love it. I've worked with some good standard poodles over the years.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I've kind of come to the edge of my questions. Kent, Mags, do you guys got anything from the chat or anything on your mind?
Yeah, our resident flight attendant, Chris from Eastland Farms, he says he heard that the customs dogs at the airports are not supposed to look aggressive.
Floppy ears.
Very true.
Yep.
Is that just for the the travelers not to, I suppose, raise their level of anxiety?
Right. Yeah, they're big on floppy-eared dogs in the passenger areas for sure.
So we were doing a photo shoot, right, with the dogs, and this is like something my dog isn't trained to do, but it completely impressed me when Crystal was helping me to get the officers' dogs with them, and she goes, "Ears up," like to the dog I was taking a picture of, and that dog went, put its freaking ears up, like it's trained to put its ears up. Just pointing that out. Is that crazy? Do any of you have trained to do ears up? What?
So CJ and Daddy and Johnny, like, we have this club in Canine Defense called, Don't Tell George.
Don't get in trouble.
He's the owner, and he's the big
George. Cover your ears.
But that is one of those things, like, don't tell George this. Right. So, Alicia, you get me grounded.
Did I bust something out, Crystal? I got something on my screen.
But
I love you. I didn't mean to say something.
No, you're good.
Okay, I've been drinking.
They look like little antennas, right? Like, they're like, they follow every little noise, and you go ears up, and they go whoop.
No, Crystal was like to this dog.
Makes for a great picture.
And the dog was like, it went from this to this, like on command. It was like.
It wasn't necessarily the word; it was more of the tone of it. That high pitch. Don't tell George.
Don't tell George. George, you didn't hear nothing, man.
Yeah, don't tell George. I want my job tomorrow.
All right,
Crystal.
Max.
I mean, that was a really good question. Yeah, that's definitely the dogs in the airports. They actually, TSA specifically, will not use pointy-eared dogs for any type of passenger screening.
So what you're saying is they're irresponsible.
The pointy ears give passengers more of a feeling of fear. Right. So, yep. So for sure.
And why is that? Because they look more like wild dogs.
More wolf-like.
Right?
Really?
Right.
Coyotes, wolves,
Aggressive.
all the wild dogs have
Right.
pointy ears.
So you're saying a Chihuahua would be perfect in an airport?
Perfect.
Perfect.
I'm saying it would be perfect.
Well, at least the little bastard's got a little life left in him.
Chihuahua incident.
Kid, did you have anything you want to add before we?
You know, I didn't. I wasn't watching for questions out of the chat, but I got called out on one that I forwarded to Mags, so that yes, our favorite stewardess wouldn't go all pickles on us.
Nice.
Because he's been texting me left and right. I'm trying to pay attention to what our guests are saying, and our favorite stewardess is being a jackwagon.
Nice.
Love you, Chris. Go play some Foo Fighters.
You guys, everybody, like, if you're in the chat, ask all of the fun questions that you would be normally afraid to ask, because George and Crystal, one of them probably knows the answer. And let me give you a couple examples of stuff that I've asked them, so don't laugh. So one of the first things, because they were talking about what you can train your dog to find, and I'm like, can my dog find the remote control? Like, any dumb question like that. Somebody, I won't mention names, but wanted to know if you hid drugs in the back of your toilet, like pot, if a dog could find it. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
If you hid drugs in your toilet under the water, can a dog find it? Can they find it in your freezer? Like, people, I know you have questions that you want to ask. Don't be afraid.
Alicia, I told you that in confidence. God damn it.
Xavier said, what about
Are
up
we
your
afraid
butt?
to ask where you can hide your drugs?
No, I'm just saying, like, I know there are questions that people want to ask you guys, but they're afraid to ask because it's kind of intimidating. Like, you work with the police and you work with, you know, like stuff like that. And you're like, should I ask if my drugs are hidden up my butt, if they can find them?
Get the old prison wallet.
Hey, Alicia, why don't you come over and we'll find out?
I don't
doing
want to
it
know what
because
Xavier is doing over there.
I don't want Melly anywhere near my freaking butt.
right.
She's wild.
All right. She's a little wild.
And that's when the train went off the track, CJ.
This is where it goes south. We let Alicia come on and start drinking. All shit goes downhill.
Crystal, only if I can be the one
Again,
on you. And then
What was that?
CJ, you think
I have
you
to be
think
the one that I
you
on
the
you.
first time.
Yeah, I know.
So my dog did alert on the location of it was a sad situation. We went on an emergency call, and I didn't know when I showed up that someone had OD'd on the premise, and
That was my first training session with Crystal.
and I invited Alicia along with me, and I wasn't aware of it until I showed up, and the entire facility was so somber. And my dog alerted in the middle of a floor, in the middle of a room, and they were like, "Oh, well, that's where he passed, and he OD'd on fentanyl." So, you know, it's they can find it. You know. Oh, also on his grill, right, Alicia?
Yeah.
Yeah, a grill.
It's crazy. Like, I didn't realize that their sense of smell is so sensitive to find it on like sheets even after the person has left because of their sweat residue, right, that's left behind. I mean, the animals are amazing. They're truly amazing at what they can do, and the way that certain people can connect with them, like Crystal and George. And I'm telling you right now, George is the freaking dog whisperer. Like, he's like, I'm like, hey, George. And George is like, well, did you notice his nostrils flaring before he did it? I'm like, what? No, I wasn't looking at his nostrils. I have no idea if his nostrils flared before he freaking did that. Like, what? No, nobody notices that, but George does. George is like, you didn't notice the dog's nostrils flare and his breathing kind of changed, and then he like looked. I
So
didn't.
George, too bad Wes isn't here to tell the shade story. Can you tell it for him?
Oh, I can't tell it very well.
But you could tell it, right?
Tell the story, George.
So these are the little tiny idiosyncrasies that George picks up on, right?
Yes, Yeah, I mean the
Yeah.
details are really important. And I think overall, paying attention to the signals and the way dogs communicate, and you pick a lot up by learning to read them. The shade
We
story was
humanize all dogs. We look
What's
at dogs
that?
and we go, oh, we humanize them.
Right.
Oh my God, they're so cute. Oh, he looked at me. Oh, he wants this. Oh, he likes it when I pet him.
He wants to cuddle. Aw.
Right? We humanize dogs. But George has a way of going, wait a minute. Like, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Now you're on the spot. Go.
I forgot what
There's
I'm
a story.
on the spot about.
Man, right?
You were telling us a story.
Yes. Years ago at one of this guy's first police canine certification. So for one of the parts of this certification is you have to have your dog released. He's biting a suspect. You tell him to release and you call him back to you from a distance. And this can be a difficult task sometimes when especially your first time going through it, because it's a lot of stress for the handler being judged by everyone there. And so I'm helping the guys practice for the next day for their test. And I'm standing in the shade with my protective equipment on and having the dogs bite me and release. And one of these two friends of ours that were newer officers and handlers back then, one of the dogs would not come back to them. And, and they kept trying all these different things. And I said, it's the shade guy. I said, it's shade. He doesn't want to come back to you because we were up in Prescott. It was only 80 degrees, but you got to remember these dogs are wearing a fur blanket and they're working hard. So little amounts of relief are big. So I said, stand in the shade and the dog will come back to you.
So George was in the shade in a bite suit, the Marshmallow Man suit. So George is in the shade and the handler is in the sun. And so when the
I wasn't wearing a
saying,
Marshmallow Man suit.
what did you have, Steve?
I had a nice, tight-fitting suit.
It was tight. It was so tight.
It was not a big Marshmallow Man suit.
But the point is that George and his not Marshmallow Man suit were in the shade, and the handler was in the sun. So for the handler to tell the dog to let go of the bad guy and come back to me, let go of him in the shade and come back to me in the heat, George was like, that's your problem. And they were all like, I don't know if you can cuss on this channel, excuse me, but they were all like, fucking bullshit. That's bullshit. Like this, now we know this guy's, like he's full of bullshit, right? And they were like, all right, fine, show us, switch.
Typically I am, but not with dogs.
Yeah, typically. So what happened?
I said switch spots. So we switched spots, and the dog released and came right back to him.
When you were in the sun and the handler was in the shade.
Right.
Like
and it was that simple. It was that simple.
It seems like it's always something simple, because when I go to training sessions, right? I take my dog over to Canine Defense, which is a little bit across town from me. I take my dog over to Canine Defense, right? And George is like, okay, run your session, which is always kind of intimidating, George, because there are usually like police officers in the room who know what they're doing. And I'm like kind of sucky when it comes to my poor dog, but I love on him, so it's okay. Anyway, so he's like, okay, bring your dog in and do a session. So we bring the dog in. My dog is immediately, from the time I take him out of the car, he is like, I want to go freaking play with George and Crystal. Because he loves George and Crystal, and he smells them from across the parking lot and knows they're there. And I bring my dog in and I do my thing, and I'm like, sit and lay and get on this thing and do all these things. And I'm like, yay, I did good. And I put my dog away, and George is like, you didn't happen to notice that I've been drinking and I forgot my train of thought. No, but like it'll be some little thing, whatever little thing it is, and I'll be like, oh crap, like that makes so much sense. And then I change something this big. I mean, like this big, like the way I'm holding the leash. Like I'm holding the leash this way, or I'm holding the leash this way, or my hand is this direction with the food in it, or it's this direction, or this itty bitty tiny little change, and my dog's behavior completely freaking changes. Like it completely changes.
When you sent your dog to the table, were you facing him or was he in heel position?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know. When you did place with your dog, like, okay, so one of the things is like, I'm standing for a second. So like you have the dog, right? And you're like trying to get the dog to go to a certain place. So here's me. I'm like, go dog, go over there. And George is like, no, like you start like this, and then you hold your arm this way, and you pretend like you're lobbing a softball. So me,
You've said that, George.
well, like, you know,
That does
like,
sound like me.
That
That
might
sounds
not
like
have been the exact words that he said, but like the words, or Crystal, one of y'all told me. So I'm like, I went from doing this, go dog, get over there, to like turn your hip and do this. And my dog went from like, what the hell do you want me to do? To, oh, you want me to go get on that? From my body position though, which like he doesn't know, but he does.
It would probably show a lot better if you had your dog with you.
It would. I'm not.
Yeah, and George and Canela too.
Yeah, no, everybody watching, go to George's channel, because the link that I put in the chat thing, if you are in the chat, CJ's chat on Facebook, is to a video of Canela, I think. And you'll see Canela is like this. George is like, stand, play, sit, stand, lay, sit. And Canela's like, poof, 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 poof. She's like hitting the positions and like this.
Everything Greek, so you're like, did she do what he said? Because I don't know what that means.
But it's all Greek to us.
All right, guys, we're about an hour and a half into this thing. I'm gonna call it. George, Crystal, thank you guys for coming on. I put your link to your YouTube channel and to your company in the chat, so hopefully get a few more subscribers tonight. Alicia, thank you for introducing us to these fine people. I appreciate it. Thank you for ruining our livers over the last year and a half.
It's been my pleasure.
If Xavier's there, give him our love, give him a kiss, swat him on the ass for us.
Swat on the ass is for
There
me.
he is.
Yeah.
Sexy beast.
Hey, X.
Got the butt smack.
Oh yeah. Remember that one time when Xavier fell asleep in my jacuzzi? That's just, that one time.
I do remember that one time, CJ, when you started talking more.
That's what I said. The last time I saw you, you were looking a little bit fuzzy.
Yeah, that was it. Look, we hadn't had a babysitter in a minute, guys. Okay, so
we had a great time at the house for sure.
It was fun.
All right, well, we'll definitely have to do it when all this Rona goes away. We'll do another hangout. All right, guys.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, I appreciate it. I'm sorry that we had to postpone it that one time, but we're back. We're on. Great.
I'm sorry I was so late.
No worries.
Great.
Thanks. Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you for everybody watching tonight, hanging out with us on a Friday night. That's all. That was a great time. Thank you guys. Dutch, Mags, I appreciate you guys helping me out tonight. We'll see you guys when we see you. I'm gonna end this thing now. Have a great time, everybody. Great weekend. Stay safe.